Hey everybody, welcome back to the Excellical Real Estate channel. My name is Jeremy Rickard. I'm the real estate broker for Excellical Real Estate right here in sunny Central Florida. It's been a minute since our last video. 2021 has been a wild year. I'm sure you understand in real estate. If you've watched any TV or internet news or anything like that, 2021 has been really wild. I'm so super thankful for the business we've been able to do this year, but I wanted to share just a little bit about where the market is at right now and a little bit about how we arrived there, and maybe for some of you, how to prepare going forward. I want to talk real quick about Zillow. Zillow's been in the news a little bit recently. I had a feeling Zillow was going to be in the news probably about 6 to 8 months ago. We started getting reports out of California from a company that asks us to evaluate the properties that they have for certain clients. And they'll ask, what is the value on the open market? How long would it take to sell? What are comparable properties selling for? That sort of a thing. And so in completing those reports, I would turn them back in. And sometimes I would get requests to re-look at the report again. And the reason for re-looking at the report was so that it had actually sold recently, wasn't on the tax records, didn't sell on the MLS. And it sold recently, and it sold for well over what I was suggesting that the actual open market value was. Now, let me let you guys know that I do have a guarantee for all of my sellers that says that I will sell a property at full market value, backed up by an appraisal, or I'll pay the difference. If I leave money on the table for my seller, which I don't intend to ever do, but if I were to have that happen, I would pay the difference so that my sellers are getting full market value. So I do have a reason for giving the highest possible value to these properties. So when they would ask me to reevaluate it, I knew I had given the highest possible value that I could. And when I went back to look, I saw things that just didn't make sense for why whoever was buying the property was buying it at the price that they were buying. So I called back into the company. I told them what I thought. I thought that I would stand behind my report, that it was the best value that we had, it was the highest value that we had. And they divulged to me that the client that was asking for this was Zillow, which really made me take a step back, because one property, maybe that happens, two properties, that's a different story. But when it started happening over and over again, I did start to get a little bit concerned about market manipulation. So I actually had Zoom calls with my agents and said, hey, listen, we need to watch out for this, because what Zillow is doing, it appears, is they're buying well over market value. And so what does that do? Number one, you've got a corporation that has millions, if not billions of dollars, that has the ability to go and snag up huge swaths of properties, which they were doing. And what it does is it takes out the typical buyer of those properties, people that actually need to live there. So if Zillow is buying them up, Zillow is just doing that to flip them. They're not doing that for any other reason besides buy, raise the price, flip, and make money. Well, what happened was they were using algorithms instead of actually having an agent on the ground evaluating whether they should be buying the properties at the price they were supposed to be buying them at. And in order to really flip properties, you have to buy them under value so that when you sell them at market value, you make a profit. But when you do the reverse of that and you buy over market value, you're either speculating that the value is going to rise over time, or you're just making a really bad decision. And as it turned out, Zillow was making a really bad decision. Now, what that did for I'm glad it was a short period of time, wasn't an extremely lengthy period of time, but I will say I lost a listing over it. And I can't blame a seller for taking a Zillow offer when on the open market it would never have made that much. I can't blame a seller. However, there were buyers, typical families that needed places to stay, that now can't compete with somebody who has millions and billions of dollars of cash. Most of our local buyers are still using traditional loans, FHA, VA, conventional loans. And they're already competing with people that are moving from states where the incomes are greater and the price of properties are greater. So when they sell their properties in other states, such as Michigan, New York, New Jersey, California, those kind of locations, then when they come here, they have more money to spend, more cash money to spend. And so it's difficult for those in the local market as prices are rising, and then they're competing with people that have more money to begin with. Now you're competing with a corporation. This becomes very difficult. And so what that does is we have traditional, just basic economics, supply and demand. So if a corporation comes in and buys a lot of these properties, that's going to shrink the supply. And if they buy them with cash, it shrinks them quickly. And if they buy them with cash, they don't have to get an appraisal, which means now prices, when an appraiser looks for future sales in a particular area, it appears that the prices are rising. Well, if you're buying over what they're really worth, you're manipulating the market. So an appraiser is kind of a safeguard to make sure that the market doesn't get out of hand in that way. But when you bypass the appraiser and you can set the market, which is what Zillow was nearly doing, and some of the other iBuyers, cash buyers, investors, things like that. We actually have a lot of people that need homes, and so when investors are coming out, that does cause problems in the market. It does frustrate buyers, and we've seen that. However, we've been able to help a lot of our buyers through that process. That's where new construction has come into, especially if you're in Wesley Chapel area, you've seen a lot of new construction come up. But what I want to talk about is the different reasons and other factors besides just basic economics of supply and demand that are causing the things you're seeing in the market right now. There's obviously migration. We've got people that are moving from other states at a rate that they haven't moved in several years. Part of that is because we are a fairly open state in terms of the ability to move and go and do a little bit more freer than, say, some places that had been locked down a little bit more stringent over the COVID time period. Our tax situation is very nice here in Florida. Obviously, the weather year round. There's a lot of factors that would go into that. So migration, people coming from different areas. Another thing is that people aren't taking as much into account is the generations. So my generation is Gen X. There was fewer of us than there were of baby boomers, which was my parents' generation. But my kids' generation, or even the millennial generation, actually, the millennial generation was the largest generation that we've ever seen. And that millennial generation is now buying age. So what happens is when you have people coming in from out of state, you have people just coming of age to be able to buy properties. And then you pack on corporate and national investors coming in. You can see how all these different factors can start to play a role in how few properties are actually on the market. So the thing that I pay attention to most every single week are how many properties are coming on the market, what is the supply of the properties that we have on the market, and how fast are they leaving the market, getting on, getting off. So the getting on the market, getting off the market is known as the absorption rate. And you want that absorption rate, you don't want it to be excessively high because that means it's happening super fast. You don't have the opportunity to really see the property, get the property. It creates multiple offer situations. It creates over list price situations. So there's kind of this moderate absorption rate where you kind of want to be at, which is around about 20%. But the problems that we've had over the past several years, it's been at 50 or 60%. It's been extremely high. Now, the inverse of that is your month supply. And so I pay really close attention to that. A balanced market where it's just buyers and sellers. A seller puts a home on the market, the buyer comes and offers, negotiates. Just a typical low-key, low-stress situation is about 5 to 6 months supply. Nearly this entire year, we've been below 2 months. Most of our markets in Wesley Chapel, New Tampa, Lutz, and Land O'Lakes have been around that 1.5 to 1.9 month supply for the majority of the year. So you can see when interest rates are low, which propels people to want to buy, competition is excessively high, absorption rate is excessively high, month supply is exceptionally low. This is just an environment for prices to continue to increase. Now, tack on to that what we've seen here very recently with inflation, and man, you start to get a very volatile market, because what inflation will do is it will cause rent prices to rise, right? And so people that are renting have sometimes seen $500 to $800 to even $1,000 increase in their rent. Then now they're going, well, if I'm paying this for rent, I could go buy something for this. And if they're qualified to buy it, now they move into the buyer's market. So we've got another buyer that's now coming in that maybe had been renting at one point in time because of inflation driving up the rent prices. So you have just a lot of these different pushes and pulls on the market, these forces that are happening on the market. So where are we at right now? So as of this morning, one thing that I'm starting to notice is every single year around November, December, January, February, we typically see a little bit of a rise in the inventory. That's just normal, it's cyclical. Part of the reason is because you have the holidays coming up. People are not spending as much money. They're staying home with family. They're not out looking at properties. So that would be normal and regular. So I want the people that have either been frustrated by the buying market to really listen right now, because over the next 4 months, this is what you should see. We're seeing that the prices are not appreciating at the rate they have been in months past. That is not to say that it is correcting. That is not to say that prices are going down or there should be an expectation for them to go down. It's just that they're not as increasing at the same pace. Why? Buyers that wanted a property got a property and are now in the property. They're out of the market for that. And so as it's almost like a traffic jam, right? As soon as some of the traffic jam gets released a little bit, then the traffic starts to flow again. We're starting to see a little bit of the traffic jam just kind of loosen up a little bit. So the month supply of properties is also going up. And we want to see that. I want to see a trajectory where we're getting closer to that 5 or 6 months supply, which is a little bit more balanced between buyers and sellers. Where we're at right now in Wesley Chapel and Land Lakes is we just crossed over the 3-month supply. So especially in Wesley Chapel, there's a lot of new construction going on. I'm sure if you're around this area, you've seen them clearing out a lot of land for new construction. So there is a lot of supply that's coming. But again, for the buyers that maybe been frustrated over these past few months, more selection is coming. That's what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting that the prices are going to go down. You may not be competing with, say, 10 other offers. You might only be competing with 2 to 5 other offers. And again, it's going to depend on the property. It's going to depend on the price. It's going to depend on the location. There's several different factors that are also there, but you should have more choice. So every actual homeowner that's going to live in the property, once they get the property, they're now out of the market. Investors, they're just going to try to keep grabbing properties. And you would assume that an actual homeowner occupant could make an actual better offer than an investor, because investors are going to want to come in to be able to make money, so on and so forth. So just pay attention over the next couple months. People ask me when the best time to buy is. There's no question. It's when no one else is buying. And when is no one else buying? November, December, January, February. It's those 4 months when less people are buying. Let me say it that way. So when less people are buying, that's when you need to pay attention to buy. So if you're in the market for a home, these are the months you need to pay attention to. Be setting aside money, maybe not spend quite so much money on Christmas or something like that, so you could have money set aside. And then once tax season comes, that March, April time period, it starts to ramp back up again. People get money, spring, all that kind of stuff. The buying season is going to take off again. And we'll see where we're at with the month supply and the absorption rate at that point. But this is just an encouragement to those who have been really frustrated over the last maybe even year. Hang in there. There's more inventory coming now. If you're a seller, this is what you want to think about now. Because the prices are not appreciating, if you're sitting here waiting until the top of the market to sell, I think that we've crested. I'm not saying that the prices won't increase some, but it's not going to be at the clip that it's been over the past year, because the demand is starting to slow and the supply is starting to increase. Okay, so if you're on the fence about selling, contact me. Again, I've got a guarantee that I will sell your property at full market value, backed up by an appraisal, or I'll pay the difference. So you have nothing to lose. Just give me a call and let us help you through that process. So 3 things, as I always say, that I want to make sure that you understand that I want for you as a buyer or seller, a client, a customer, a prospect. This is the 3 things that I want for you. Number 1, you don't make any decision out of fear. Don't make a decision out of fear. No matter what the volatility of the market is showing you, no matter what the news says, don't make a decision based on fear. Number 2, I want you to be as educated as possible. I think the more educated you are, the less fearful you will be, because you know. And when you know, you can make better decisions. And then number 3, I want to be your guide. I'm not looking to sell you on anything, but I want to guide you through the process, help you with your next steps, maybe point out some things you didn't see or didn't think about. That way you can make the best decision, the next home you're going to either buy or sell, or both. If you want to sell your home and buy a new one, I would love to help you with that as well. So thanks to you guys for listening. I will try to keep everybody updated a little bit more often. It has been a very busy year. Again, we're super grateful for all of your referrals and your friendship and your camaraderie, and suggesting Excellicore Real Estate to other people. We love to help and just bring a stress-free process to the real estate process in general. But give us a call. I would greatly appreciate it if you would like the video, if you enjoyed it, if it was helpful to you. I appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel just to keep updated as I release new videos or we release new information about what's going on. And share it if you would. If you think somebody else could benefit from it, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd share the video. So thanks so much. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.